Hey everybody, this is Angela and you're listening to 5 Picks and a Chick featuring El Gato. This is the show that gives you 5 NFL picks for people who love football and friendly wagering. However, we know we are in the off season, so we're going to talk about March Madness. Today we are joined by our special guest, Big Zay. Thanks for being with us, Big Zay.
Yes, thank you for bringing me back.
All right. Well, Big Zay, we are outside recording this, so you may hear some weird sounds, some cars, some people, but we're going to see how this goes because we may do this in the future, recording live outside. What do you think about that?
Hey, that works, especially on a beautiful day like today.
Oh my God, it is so nice out here. It's blue skies, it's just perfect temperature, it's really nice. But one thing I do want to do, Big Zay, I'm going to give a shout out to your brisket. I know El Gato tried some for the first time.
4 sandwiches, thank you.
It was delicious. So that is like the best brisket. If our listeners ever have the chance to get out there and try some of Big Zay's brisket, it is like the best.
Yeah, I'll testify to that. The sandwiches were great, juicy, meaty, seasoned well. They were just delicious, especially after a round of golf. Good job, Zay.
Awesome, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, Big Zay, we had some not so good records to talk about for El Gato and I last week. I went 1-4. El Gato went 0-5. Our off-season record so far, I have 4 wins, 6 losses. El Gato has 3 wins, 7 losses. So we didn't do too good last week with our picks.
Well, it was a tough week. I mean, hell, there were some tough games. But you know what? The games that we picked, you know, they really could. I mean, if you look at the scores and how the game flowed, they could have gone either way. That North Carolina-Alabama game, you know, I mentioned in the podcast that North Carolina had to play defense. I mean, I knew Alabama was not going to play defense, which they didn't. The deciding factor on that was was North Carolina. They played into Alabama's hand and they engaged in an up and down game, and they ended up losing. They ended up going on the over. You look at the other games that we picked, Houston and Duke, right? that game could have gone either way. I mean, they lose. Houston loses their main catalyst, the engine that runs that offense. Shed. He's out at the 12-minute mark of the first half, and they only lost by 3 points.
Yep.
I mean, a low-scoring game. I mean,
Even without Shed,
he was a factor. You look at the Gonzaga-Purdue game. I mean, at least I thought Gonzaga was a more well-rounded team, but you know, Purdue came up and said, you know what, not happening on their watch. Their 2 guards showed up and played. Their big guy, the big man, said, you know what, I don't care what the critics are saying about me. I'm going to show up and play and show up Gonzaga. And that's what he did. And when you come to March Madness, that's why they call it March Madness, because anything can happen.
It's madness.
You know, I'm not happy about my 0-5 record, but the games really could have gone either way.
Either way.
Let's see what we do here.
Yep. And before we move on, I just want to give a big shout out to Cruz Teca, because that's where we're recording from today, right? Cruz Teca on Brody.
Oh man, Cruz Teca, I call it the cruise. The margaritas are
the best.
Delicious. Food is fantastic. Appetizers. I mean, you name it. Take a visit. Austin, Texas, South Austin.
It's the best.
Off of
Brody.
Off of Brody and 71.
Yep.
Come pay a visit.
Yep. All right, Big Zay, we're going to talk about the Final Four. So we're going to all 3 of us are going to talk about the game and then the over-under. My pick for Alabama and UConn, Alabama's getting 12 points, so I'm going with Alabama in this game. Although UConn has looked unbeatable and will probably win this game, they are facing the #1 scoring team in Alabama. Bama averages 91 points a game, so even if they are held to 10 points below their average, UConn would have to score 93 points in order to cover. So that's why I'm taking Bama getting the points. All right, Big Zay, what are your thoughts on this game? Alabama getting 12 versus UConn.
I'm kind of going to piggyback off what you said. You said that you said Alabama had one of the top offenses in the nation. That is true. they are one of the best three-point shooting teams in the nation. Mark Sears for Alabama, he's a dog, and he plays lights out. But I think whenever you look at the bigger picture and you look at a full team, out of these four, I feel like UConn is the most complete team. From all their players to the head coach, I mean, Hurley he's one of the greats, and he proved himself last year. And not to look ahead, but I think he might prove himself again this year. UConn is top 5 in both offense and defense, and with that being said, I'm going to roll with UConn on this one.
What are your thoughts on this game, El Gato?
Yeah, you raised some good points, both of you, regarding Alabama and UConn. Alabama, of course, has proven throughout the tournament they can score the basketball. They took North Carolina out of their comfort zone. I mean, North Carolina didn't want to play no part of defense. So with UConn being and UConn, of course, is not shy about playing defense. I'm gonna count on UConn really playing nice and tight on the Alabama offensive players, and they're gonna, I think, neutralize their 3-point shooting. Maybe their percentage shooting as well. I'm going to go with the better defensive team here. UConn's not afraid to play defense. In fact, I think they thrive on playing defense and shutting down, the top scorer, the top 2 scorers of the opposing team, and then creating offense off of that. I'm going to go with Alabama.
All right. Well, let's talk about the over-under on this game. The over-under is 160.5. I'm going to go with the over. These are 2 teams that can score at will. Give me the over in this game. What are your thoughts, Big Zay, on the over-under?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with the over as well. Even though I do got UConn with the points of 12, I do think that they're going to answer back every time Alabama does something. So I think it's going to be a very competitive, high-scoring game. But I still think that UConn, they're just an unstoppable team, in my opinion, and when they get rolling, they all get rolling. So I'm gonna go with the over on this one.
All right, what about you, El Gato? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the over on this one as well. I think Alabama's gonna get their points. I think UConn will get more points off of their defensive play and create offense with their defense. So not only will UConn get their points offensively, they'll get it on the defensive side as well by creating points, playing that tight defense against Alabama. So I'll go with the over on this one.
All right. Hey, Big Zay, you would appreciate this. We are trying to do like a outdoor kind of recording, so you might hear cars, people walking by. We just had a guy, one of our audience members has a Eagles cap on, ball cap, and so the guy that walked by, you might hear him on the recording say, "Go Birds!" So I thought it was right when you were talking, so I'm like, I couldn't have been more perfect. All right, so let's talk about this second game. Purdue -9 versus North Carolina State. I'm going to take Purdue -9. This will be the first game that North Carolina State's DJ Burns will not be the best big man on the court. Zach Edey and the Boilermakers should control the tempo and the paint area. Give me Purdue -9. What are your thoughts on this game, Big Zay?
Yeah, I have NC State winning this game. I think that Burns is going to be a little bit too much for Edey. It's going to make him feel a little bit more uncomfortable down low. I'm waiting for this matchup more than anything. It's going to be very exciting to watch. But yeah, I just think that Burns is going to bully Edey down low, and it's going to shut down the offensive game plan for Purdue. And you talk about a team. One team is playing with nothing to lose. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you have a team that literally has everything to lose. So, man, I'm pretty excited for this matchup. Still predict that NC State's going to win a close one.
Okay, what are your thoughts on this game, El Gato?
This is a very interesting game. I mean, I've been doubting NC State the whole tournament, and what do? They just keep winning. They haven't lost since early March, I think. They've won maybe 9 or 10 straight already. They've really been performing well in the tournament. They've got a lot of athletic talent on that team. They've got they go about 3 deep on the bench that are just as good as starters, it seems like, when they come in and substitute. Burns, of course, takes up a lot of room in the middle. He does match up well with Edey, but is he as athletic as Edie going up and down the court? I'm not sure about that. Purdue at -9. I like Purdue's guard play. They have two outstanding guards that can distribute and score. I was really surprised with their last game on how effective they were, not only on the perimeter but also getting the ball inside to Edie. This is going to be an exciting game and an intriguing game. I like Purdue -9. I think they're going to do just enough to cover, maybe at 11 or 12. I look for Edie to get his points. I look for the guard play for Purdue to produce and maybe neutralize that athletic talent on the NC State side. So I'm going to go with Purdue at -9 on this game. I'm thinking the Boilermakers are destined to meet UConn in the final.
All right. Well, the over-under on this game is 146. I'm going to go with the under on this game. I think North Carolina State will struggle on offense, so of course that means they're going to struggle scoring points. Therefore, I'm going with the under. What are your thoughts on the over-under, Big Zay?
I'm going to go with the under as well. I agree with you, Angela. NC State, the last 4 games, has not allowed their opponent to shoot better than 38% from the field. I got the under in this one.
That sounds good. I'm glad you're going with me. What about you, El Gato?
I'm going to have to go against you guys. I'm going to go with the over on this one. I'm looking for both teams to get their points. As athletic as NC State is, I'm going to expect them to not quit even to the very end. Maybe some last 2 minutes of the games. If NC State is behind, they're going to be jacking up some threes and maybe making the game a little closer than it should be. I'm looking at maybe an 80 to 70 game that put them at 150. So that put that game at the over. So I'm counting on each team getting up and down the court and getting their points. So I'm going to go with the over.
We're at the end of the podcast, El Gato. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm just waiting for a good matchup in the Final Four coming up. And then I'm going to predict there'll be Purdue and UConn in the finals. And then we'll go from there.
All right. What about you, Big Zay? You have any final thoughts?
Yeah, man. It's just it's sad to see that college basketball season's coming to an end. The only good part about it is we're only a step closer to the football season. But
there you go.
Anyway, I'm really excited. I feel like these are going to be 2 great matchups. And, yeah, I just hope they give us a show.
My final thought is going to be I always give a countdown until NFL kickoff 2024, which is September 5th. We are 153 days away from the NFL kickoff. And as you can hear, we are outdoors. You can hear someone's alarm going off. I hope it's not anything serious about that.
We are in South Austin.
So if you've made it to this point in the podcast, we just want to thank you for listening to 5 Picks and a Chick. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Also hit the subscribe and like button on our YouTube channel. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Thank you to Big Zay for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. Make sure to join us next week. We'll kind of give a recap on the NCAA championship game and also give you 5 picks on NBA. Is that correct, El Gato?
Yeah, 5 picks NBA.
All right.
Coming up. You're right.
All right. As always, thank you to El Gato for being part of 5 Picks and a Chick. 1, 2, 3.
Break.